So negativity is not something I like. And positive affirmation for me is like, okay, it's funny enough, it's still very negative because I'm like, okay, you suck, but you can suck a little bit less if you do something right. And I don't feel like you're doing well across the board of life. Like you're struggling and you're battling every day, but just win this little piece and concentrate on that little piece, whatever it is. And that, to me, that positive thing gets me to the next positive thing. Cause that's how I live. Like, okay, what's the next thing I can do?
Welcome to Brainstoke. I'm Tom Telford here with Preston Niederhauser. It's been a while. It feels like we've kind of taken a pause.
Yeah, sabbatical.
Yeah, a nice break. Luckily, we're back though, strong, and we're in studio today, South Weber, aka Western Wyoming, with Jason Carter in studio, our guest today. This is awesome. I'm excited to do this because we've gotten to know each other the last couple months. I've known some of your family and people that I respect dearly, love dearly. You know, your parents are awesome humans. But before we dive in to the story, who do we start off today? It seems like we need to give a little shout out. It's been a bit, but first off to Garner Brown, Cornerstone Advisors. Actually, we'll be in with Gardner soon to just kind of do an update. So Gardner Brown and your team, thank you for all you do to minimize and stifle the financial stressors of the world. Gardner's team's awesome. So we're grateful for them. Also want to thank Envy. This is the year of the MOG. We've enjoyed a lot of Envy riding, and as just a little nugget of, to throw it in here, an Easter egg, a verbal Easter egg. Is that a thing? A verbal Easter egg? Yeah, we're going to be debuting a custom Envy Melee. So that's coming up for 2026. It's going to be awesome. So thank you, Envy. Who else?
Well, Levo.
Levo. Yeah, that company.
They're paying for a lot of this.
Thank you, Levo. Mind Care Company. Actually, for Jason, I want you to just, share your feedback on Levo. You've gotten to know some of the people at Levo a little bit. We won't dive into detail, but just your experience there. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me as well. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a good experience. Dr. Heaps and I have gone the rounds together, and he's been awesome. The teams here has been great, especially this location. They've been very helpful, and then I really like the interaction that I get to have with like the nursing department and things like that. It's very streamlined, very, very helpful, very easy to help manage the stuff that we're working on, and I love the accountability and that I get held to. Dr. Heaps and I are, I love him and I hate him at any given moment. So it's like, but I love it.
As every relationship should be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a healthy thing. So I love it. I love it.
You know what's cool in our relationship, Jason and I, is the first time we had lunch together, I just loved how honest you were. So as we dive into this, I want to just share. We're going to talk AI today for our audience, and it's not artificial. It's authentic intelligence.
Yeah.
And I've loved that about you in our relationship. Just, I love that you're real. And I think that's why Chunky Golfer, what you're doing resonates with so many people, because you are not artificial. You are authentically intelligent.
Well, I appreciate it.
So AI, we're giving you're the godfather of AI.
I'll take it. That's not often intelligence is equated to me. So I'll take it however I can get it. No.
Okay, who gave the name? Where'd Chunky come from?
Well, it's funny because everyone assumes it's because I'm fat, but it's really because I hit a lot of thick shots. It's very chunked, but and then it just kind of worked out naturally where it happened to be.
Dual meaning.
Yeah, I was like,
I love it.
I never got it, but I was like, okay. I'm just kidding. It was definitely one of those things where I thought about it and I just said, okay. When I first started, it was just Jason Carter Golf, kind of stupid, unnecessary, just kind of throw it up there because it started off just posting my swing for fun. And then people are like, you should start posting this more. And then it was like, oh, you should start posting your own stuff and then make a channel. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do something. And I noticed in the first week of posting, there was a lot of jokes about my weight. And so I was like, I can go one of two ways, quit or lean into it.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to lean into it. And then I didn't like the fat golfer because that's just mean. And then it has nothing to do, you know, you hear people say you hit it fat, but chunky, or I hit that chunky. You'll hear it on any YouTube video watch.
Oh, yeah,
and,
chunked it.
And I'll get text message, you know, or I'll comment like, because we have this thing called the Chunky Squad. So it's just worked out. It just worked out like that. And then people have embraced it. And it kind of, you know, in a health management way for me, it kind of takes away that edge. So people don't lead with, hey, you're fat. And it's like, he already knows, so I can't say that, you know. It's kind of
the sting out of your
it's a little
audience.
defensive mechanism. It's like, I know what I am, so don't tell me about it. But no, it just kind of worked out. And then it worked out that way and it really took off. And then, so it's the Chunky Squad's real. And everyone assumed for the first while you couldn't be in the Chunky Squad unless you were big. And again, I had to explain it had nothing to do with weight. It's just,
What are the rules of the Chunky Squad?
just be yourself, just be kind and be happy. And when you're in the golf world, like there's a lot of negativity out there. And my main rule is like, hey, if you're going to come in the comments and be part of this, and everyone's welcome, but just be kind. Like there's no need. It doesn't matter how much you weigh or what you look like, or, you know, it's really just a matter of being different, you know?
Yeah.
Cause I started something called comment caddies. Because everyone tells me there's no way your swing does that, or there's no way you do this because I know what this looks like in the swing, and there's no way you can achieve those scores based on what your golf swing looks like. And so I started this thing called comment caddies, where it's like, oh yeah, you know everything because you're in the comment section and you're keyboard warriors. So we call them comment caddies now. And so I'll get rid of those people, the negative ones.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a good refuge from the world for me. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, right on.
You know, so
Purest shot you've ever hit?
okay, so this one is good. That's a good question. I've been on a lot of golf podcasts. I've never been asked that question, and I can tell you because it's still the best shot and the worst experience I've ever had on a golf course. So I was playing Harbor Town, number 18, in South Carolina, Hilton Head Island. For my 40th birthday, the wife took me out there, and my old man, my pops, who's my best friend, and my two brothers came out. And all I wanted to do was birdie 18. If you know Harbor Town, it's the one with the big lighthouse,
okay,
the red and white lighthouse. And I said to him, like, we're going to play a lot of golf this week. We're going to play the Bagger Vance courses, but I just want to birdie 18. That's all I want to do. And I don't know why I do that to myself, but everywhere I go on a good course, I'll say I want to birdie this hole. And we got to 18. I hit a nice 3-wood up to the swamp that pops out. It was like 265. I said, I'm just going to lay up a 3-wood, nothing crazy, about 80%. And I left myself perfect angle, and I had a 7-iron in. It was a little wind, and I pured this 7-iron. It was like everything. I mean, if you watch my video, I posted on it, you hear me say like, wow, like that was perfect. And it hit behind the pin and spun back just down the hill about 10 feet up the hill towards the pin. Perfect shot. And it was amazing. And my daddy and my brothers were even saying things like, you know, like, all right, calm down. Like, we still have a lot of golf left. And I was like over the moon. Yeah. And then we got up there and we went through the whole process of reading the putt. We had caddies and stuff. And I said, let's see what my brothers does. So Russell was putting back this way. And I watched the putt coming past the hole right at me. And it turned this way. And so I said to the guy, okay, so I'm thinking it just 6 inches right. It's going to turn up the hill. And he's like, oh, no. And you hear the caddy on the video go, oh, no. And I was like, no, yes. I just watched it. And he said, no. And then my dad and brother said, well, you probably want to listen to the guy who gets paid to do this. And I hit his line, and it was 6 inches on the other side of the hole. And I looked at the guy, and it was devastating. It ruined my trip. I was so mad. And the guy said, the caddy actually said, I mean, it's all on video. He's like, I am so sorry. You were 100% right. Your read was right. And I was like, I saw it. Like, and so I said to myself, never again will I have a caddy that argues with me. If I see it, let me mess it up. And if he's wrong, then that's his fault. And if I'm wrong, then I don't want to talk about it, right? So it's like, yeah. So that's probably the purest 7-iron I've ever hit. It was awesome, and I try and forget it, but turn into content because it was like
Content matters. It's king.
I was so mad. It really ruined the rest of the day. I forgot all about the whole round. It's one of the nicest courses I've ever played. So much so where people are like, it's time to get over it, man. It's been 3 years. Like, but nope.
Love it.
The ones you miss.
The ones that got away.
The ones that
yeah.
got
And it was
away.
pure too. The putt was perfect. It almost became spiteful. Like, all right, I'm going to hit your line. I'm going to show you this is wrong, which makes zero sense. Like,
Yeah.
rather than just say, okay, I'm going to hit my line, screw you. Like, I'm like, fine, I'll show you because that did everything to help me. But yeah, it worked out. So I still shot a 71 that day. It could have been a 70. So it was devastating.
It's legit, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
On that course, that's legit.
I've played it so much on Tiger Woods Golf. I knew the course like the back of my hand. I really wish that was a joke, but that's true. I really did. I knew exactly where to go. So,
That's a stunning hole.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
That
overwhelming.
that whole area is.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. It was fun to take the drone up around that course too. It was pretty crazy.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Take us back. Take us back before, these days where you're at. Tell us about your childhood, teenage years.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of your story to give us context.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Denver metro area. Love the Denver, Mile High City. I'm an avid sports guy, obviously, and Denver sports is basically a religion. The Broncos, the Nuggets, the Avalanche, liked them. We've had the best and the worst of everything there. So, sports family. I'm one of 4 boys. All 3 of my brothers and I were high-level athletes, all of us good in our individual spaces. I was the best of the 4,
Of course,
obviously.
yeah.
I mean, that goes without saying on every level. But we were good at everything we did. We were that family. We didn't matter what we did. We were good at it, but we were very competitive with each other. I'm the second oldest, so I had an older I call him my big little brother because he's older, but he's about 7 inches smaller than me. And then I had 2 younger brothers. Very competitive, but very, very loving family. My parents were, like you said, them. They're great people. We had our problems. We struggled through our worlds like everyone did, especially in the 90s. It's kind of a weird transition for younger kids, 80s, 90s, where we didn't know what the world was as a culture, I felt like, looking back, where we didn't understand things, especially when you get into things like mental health and things like that, where I felt like I was going through the world, on this roller coaster of mental misunderstandings of what I was and who I was. But it was a learning thing for me to get through that time. But it was also amazing because we had so much fun, and I got to play basketball at a really high level, won national championships with my traveling team, and played, semi-pro basketball, had chances to play D1 and played 4 years of varsity at my high school, which it was only the second player to do that, which was cool. And a big deal for me because it was a goal I had at a very young age where I saw my heroes win a state championship at the high school I was at and said, I want to do that. I want to be that, and I want to be on TV, and I want to achieve that. And so I worked towards that, and I wanted it quick. I didn't want to wait until I was a sophomore or junior. I wanted it as an 8th grader, and I got it. So that was cool. And then just being in a supportive environment. My dad was a professional level player too. He played at Weber State, so it was fun to travel with him. And that's how we became so close. And now him and I are like brothers. And my mom's a firecracker. She runs the world, and we all get out of her way. And so it's just been. I've had a very blessed life. Very blessed life. I'm very lucky in that regard. So it's not much more I could ask for in terms of childhood. It was chaos, and it was everything you'd want. So got in a lot of trouble and didn't get caught. That's all that matters.
You mentioned there was a time where you didn't say confusing, but it sounds like there was some confusion on what was important or what your direction was supposed to be. Can you open up that door a little bit on what you meant there? It
was funny. So I have a lot of ambitious ideas. I want to do a lot of things. And then I didn't know how to achieve those things. didn't know what steps to take. And so I'd find myself deciding like, hey, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to go there? Do I want to go down this path? And the only thing that seemed to stick was basketball. And that was because I was very good at it at a young age, where I thought, okay, it wasn't even because I was like, oh, I want to do this necessarily to start, but it was like, all right, I'm good at it. I'm better than them, and I don't have to work at it. So I'll just do it until I figure it out. Thankfully, that kind of carried me. It's almost not a good thing too, because it, kind of made it so it just kind of got through everything with just basketball. But yeah, it was confusing in the sense that, is this really what I want to have identify me?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to be the basketball guy, or do I want to have more? And then it was understanding and having kind of the mental blocks or the emotional blocks, a lot of self-sabotage almost, where I was like, I don't want to try that because you're already going to fail at it, or you're worried you're going to fail at it, kind of stuff. But yeah, it was hard, especially in those times where if there was a problem with a teenage boy, they just threw, Ritalin at you.
Yeah.
And they said you were this, and they put you in a box. And then if that didn't work, then they sent you a special classroom, right? So you just kind of got in the point where I just wouldn't say anything and just kind of deal with it, and struggle with that kind of stuff, where I could tell the wires weren't connecting sometimes, where it was like, why did you feel like this and I can't feel like that? Like, so, but yeah, I mean, not to get too far into the weeds, but yeah, that's kind of where, kind of where it went.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
When you were going through those teenage years and you were playing at a high level, tell us a little bit about the performance versus anxiousness of the performance. Because you were recruited to, U, right?
Yeah, I had
Majerus like era.
Yeah, I had opportunities to play at basically any Division I school I wanted to, or at least looks at it. Once the academic side came into play, that kind of went away because of things that I'm sure we can get into later. But it was more of my anxiety didn't come from, especially with basketball, the performance side of things is, I always knew I was better than people, and so I didn't worry about not performing well. My anxiety came from things that were very random, like I was going to be late, or I wasn't going to feel right, or I was going to show up and something's going to feel off, and then I was going to let everybody down. But once the game started, all that stuff went away, and that was my kind of comfort, that refuge that I talk about with like my chunky stuff now. When I got in that mode, I used to call it the killer mode, where I'd get in that mode and I was like, okay, we're not friends anymore, and I'm here to destroy you. That's when it kind of turned off. But the anxiety of, 24 hours before the game, it was like, oh gosh, like, am I going to show up to the game on time? Just really random small things that really bothered me. Or am I going to forget my shoes or my jersey? Like those random things that never told anybody that bothered me. But it was, I would sleep with my basketball bag on my bed, so that way I wouldn't forget it. Like I was going to forget my basketball bag.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. The basketball side of it, that anxiety performance-wise got worse as it got bigger. I can remember a time at the U, and I was there for a camp where we were playing at the end of the camp. I think it was my 9th grade or 8th grade year. So I was only in 8th grade, and like Keith Van Horn and Andre Miller and all those guys were there, and they were doing a pickup game after the camp was over. And Coach Majerus said to my dad, hey, does Jason want to play in this pickup game? And as an 8th grader playing with an NBA guy and a Division I guy who went to a national championship, and 3 years later, the world caved in on me sitting on the bleachers at the Hudson Center, where it literally, I just couldn't move. And even now talking about it makes me sweat, because my dad looked at me and said, hey, like, go. And I couldn't move. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced that level of like, I don't know if I can do this, even though I knew I could. I knew I could play. I've been doing it all day. I'd been with them all day long. But when it was that time to go, it paralyzed me. And until about 6 months ago, when my old man had never said anything about it, and he said something finally on the golf course a few months ago, where it was like, that was kind of his defining moment, where he was really frustrated with me that I would let that opportunity slip. And what was that going to do? And so then that started the whole okay, what if I let down him, or what if I don't perform well, or all that stuff. So that was kind of a significant, like if I could pull things back to moments where I started really, the first time I felt real anxiety, I would say that was it. And it was like, it was crippling, where I literally couldn't move. I wanted to cry. I wanted to lay down. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to go back to the camp the next day. And I was the camp MVP. I won MVP that year. And that was, I mean, I was the best player there for my age group, and I didn't want to be there anymore. And it was like, and again, that was before we understood all this stuff, I feel like, because it was like, well, what's wrong with him? Like, oh, he doesn't have it. You know, he doesn't understand it. So that was tough. That was tough.
Your descriptions of this when we were at lunch a few months ago, I thought were so powerful, just because you were willing to say those things and describe those things.
Yeah.
And do it from an adult perspective, looking back, you know, at your teen years. I mean, you were 14.
Yeah, it's tough. You know? It was tough. It was tough. And it's taken me, 25 years to kind of get in front of it where I can actually talk about it without it making me upset or frustrating. Because I mean, you always think about those pinpoint moments, or what is this stemming from, or when did this start? And it's, I would say that's when I don't know if that's when the anxiety started, because I always had anxiety, but that's when the first time I felt the real world effect of what anxiety can do to you.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to have anxiety about day-to-day stuff. It's another thing like, hey, this is your future. Like, thankfully, Coach Majerus knew who I was because he'd seen it. And so I still had opportunities, and he still supported me. And, you know, the coaching staff was always great. And so it didn't really affect it as much as I feel like I was afraid, and more my dad was afraid. It was stuff I did on, the academic side that really ended up being the problem. But, it was defining for sure. And it was tough.
When you look back now, because you know, you've been at this, you're a student of the mental health game.
Yeah.
Like, you've read a ton, like you've been through it. As you look back now, what language would you put to what was going on? Like, how would you diagnose yourself if you were going to diagnose it now?
So at that point, it was just, I think a lot of it was hormones, and like I was changing, and I was learning how to be who I was, and confidence, like the typical standard teenager stuff to a point. And then it was a fear of self, I don't want to say like, a fear of failure was a lot of it. And not for anybody in particular. It wasn't for my dad or anything like that. I think it was a fear of not being what I wanted myself to be. And there was definitely, the anxiety was pretty real, day-to-day stuff. But then it was like, man, I struggled academically. I struggled with staying focused on things. So I knew I was going through something, and I thought for a long time it was just going to go away. Eventually, everything would catch up, and it never did. So then the anxiety of like, am I different? Is there something wrong with me? Like, why can't we figure this out? Like, how do I say what I want to say to the people involved, the right people that can help fix me? And I had no idea how to do it. So I think a lot of it was natural teenager stuff mixed with anxiety. And then when you mix in things I went through with high school stuff, with like the Columbine shooting, which I was very involved with, it added depression and, suicide episodes with friends and personal stuff, where it was like, it just mounted on top of all the stuff I was already dealing with naturally. And then it almost felt, inevitable at that point that it wasn't going to work, whatever it was.
Was basketball the outlet, but it didn't actually fulfill anything? Like, it was hollow in a way?
I know, especially as that kind of came to light when the Columbine stuff happened, and I lost my best friend who committed suicide, who was at the school, and I didn't care anymore. It was like this, like, why am I doing this? I mean, I went to tryouts. He passed in May, and I went to tryouts in November for the high school team the next year. And out of 100 plus kids, I was rated the worst one on the floor for tryouts with my rating. And I was a first team All-State player the year before. So it's like, I just didn't care. And I told my coaches, I don't care. Like, whatever, to cut me if you want. And and that was the first time where someone actually went to my parents and said something like, what's going on? And my parents were like, this is deeper than basketball. This isn't about basketball. Jason's really having a hard time with this, and you guys need help. So it worked out in that moment, but it was not what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of just, that's what I did.
So did you go to Columbine?
No. So I was at a rival school, but I was dating a girl at the time who was there.
Okay.
And knew basically everyone involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I
and
can't even wrap my head there.
yeah, that was crazy time. It was, I always tell people woke up was the most beautiful day. I can remember vividly the smells, the dew, the greens were green, the blues were blues. And then by 1 o'clock, the clouds were sitting over the city. It was black for a week. And it was like, it was the first time in my life I felt evil and went through something that was bigger than the world for what we were dealing with in the community, and watching people die and hearing the struggle of my buddy and what he had to deal with, who was, the number one basketball player in the country at the time. So, yeah, it's crazy stuff. So
Share a little bit more about that, if you don't mind, because you've alluded to a few things, part of the reason that I feel like connected over lunch, not just that we were at lunch, but that we connected over lunch, was so much of your description of school. I mean, you described my brain to a T.
yeah,
Of just how much school was a struggle, and yet your athleticism carried you.
yeah,
Your talent just allowed you to kind of hover above maybe the stressors of, that school is and that could be for a lot of other kids.
Yeah.
So
that's a big thing for me. Like I've started coaching for that exact reason, because I want to help kids and teenagers understand, like, this is normal to have these anxieties. And I was lucky enough where I equate it to, or kind of relate it to like a skipping stone, where everything below the water was normal, and I just kind of skipped and would get through those times where I was briefly feeling that. Where the basketball stuff, my abilities carried me through that stuff where I didn't have to do anything. I got away with it because I struggled in junior high I didn't struggle with knowing and learning. I struggled with finishing, where I would ace all the tests and do all those things, but I just didn't want to wrap my head around doing something like homework. It drove me crazy. Like, to think I have to go home and do this now, and I've been doing this all day. And then all I did was think about like getting home and having to sit there and think about doing that I didn't want to do, that bothered me. And then when I finally got in front of that desk, when I got home, that mountain was so big, I couldn't overcome it. And I did everything I could to just push that mountain away, so I didn't have to even think about it. And then it just stacked up over time, right? Where you're not turning stuff in and doing everything you can to not do the homework. Which was terrible. And then I figured out quickly as a freshman in high school, I remember the first week I didn't turn stuff in, and the first month, and I had an F, and I was like, oh crap, like, coach is going to get mad at me now. Like, I'm the future. And I just didn't hear anything, and nothing happened, and nothing happened the next month. And then the season was coming up and nothing was happening, and I had terrible grades. And then all of a sudden I would be okay. Like, my grades would change, and I didn't get calls. Like, the calls never came to my house like, hey, Jason wasn't in school today. So, and this is a time where parents didn't have online apps, so I can check my 14-year-old's grades and assignments right now and tell you if he missed class. They didn't have that. So my parents thought, okay, Jason's turned it over, and they're helping him, not knowing that wasn't the case. And so I figured that out quickly. And as a ninth grader, I was like, huh. And at first it was like, this is really cool. And then now 20 years later, 30 years later, it's like, that sucked. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But I didn't have to worry about it. And then when I did, it was those skips where, my coach would bring me down to my class and say, what's going on? I'll be like, you know what's going on. Like, and then he would tell my teachers, well, you need to change its grade. And they would. And the athletic director knew about it. Like, it was just one of those things where I figured out I had a lot more power than any 14-year-old boy should have. So it was tough. And like at the time I felt empowered in a bad way where
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, look at me. But then that quickly went away too, even as a ninth grader, where people were like, Jason's an idiot. Like, everyone knows this is going on. Like, Jason doesn't even come to class, but he's still playing and he's still doing all these other things. And, he must be a moron. Like, they're just letting him do
Did
his
they
thing.
ever sit you down and be like, "Hey, you got to turn this around. This has
Yeah.
got to be on you," or was it you were able to work this system all 4 years?
It was all 4 years.
Man.
I mean, I know a couple of my teachers who were amazing teachers were like, and would be like, Jason, like, we need, like, let us help you. Cause they knew it was more than just me not wanting to do it. They could see the anxieties of, like, and the stresses I was having with the school side, forget the basketball, cause that wasn't even necessarily important, but it was like, they would talk to me, and then it became very apparent the power was not in their hands. And like, this is important. Like, we need Jason to play. And I remember my coach would get really mad at me, and really mad that he would tell me, like, I can't believe you're making me do this and all this crap. And I remember thinking, like, oh, I'm letting him down, when really I'm like, looking back on it, it was like, no, you let me down by letting me do this to begin with as a ninth grader. And I should have done my part too, but, like, you got to take some of this blame too, because no one's making you, you do it once, and I probably would have, had a little bit of change. All it takes is that one big blow up where you're like, okay, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was tough. It was, school was tough because I fought it every day. I didn't want to go to school. Like, I didn't want to go to class. Like, not even because I don't like school. It was because I stressed. I knew there was a building hill, or, a hole that I was about to fall in. And any given moment it was going to drop. And so I lived my life 1 week at a time in high school, especially during basketball. Like, is this the week where I'm not eligible? Is this the week where it comes down? Like, and once the game would start on Friday night, I was like, okay, I made it through this week. And then I just go. And then it was like, once the game got over, it was like, oh crap, I got to start over on Monday. Like, oh, and then and then it just, okay, that's how my life was.
Looking back, do you have, people often use this term, but did you have Sunday night scaries?
Oh, I have every night scaries still. Yeah. It was where like, oh gosh, tomorrow's overwhelming a lot of times, especially back then. It was, what's going to happen? How's the world going to crash around me? And at the time, I didn't feel like it was my fault. Like, I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. And I think in a way I did, but that's kind of how I hid from it, where I just push it away. And that I concentrate on doing other things to try and mask what I was feeling about it, to get through it. Because no one around me knew. I mean, because you didn't tell anybody. It wasn't like, you didn't really want to talk about it. Because my dad was still old school. He was like, don't be a punk, just man up and do it. Like, as a freshman, I'd get beat up every weekend because I was playing over seniors, and they'd beat the snot out of me. Like, and my dad was always like, just be tough, you're good, you don't need to worry about it. And I get beat up. I'd come home with bloody noses, and it was just, be tough, you're good. This is part of it. And so I, just didn't say anything. So it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy looking back and hearing it. And yet, I wasn't an athlete the same, but I was in the same system.
Yeah.
I was in the same system where you benefited from your ability to play, and the lack of accountability was institutionalized.
Yeah, it was. I mean, accountability wasn't even something I ever even thought of. Yeah. And then it really manifested over the next 5-10 years, where it's like, man, I don't know how to do basic things. Like, I'm so behind in terms of, like, the mental, the intangible things that you learn in high school, like things they don't even teach you, like doing things, like meeting deadlines and understanding, like, hey, you have to put in the work. You have to learn how to set time aside. You have to learn the self-discipline, all of those things, because I wasn't the only one struggling. And that's one thing I like to tell the boys, like, you're not alone in this. Everyone's going through this, but you have to learn how to get through those times where you're like, hey, I don't want to do this thing. And you got to learn how to do that. And a lot of that comes from being held accountable, where it's like, hey, you didn't do it. you don't get to do this. Like for me, it would have been basketball. And I think those are the type of things where I would have learned quickly, like, okay, it sucks, but I got to do it. I got to get through that. And then when it didn't happen, I mean, I'm 43 years old and I still struggle with that today, where I'm like, ugh, like I have to do this. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, even like when we went to lunch that day, I remember telling you, like, I did everything in my mind to find a reason not to go to lunch with you. Not because I don't like you or you weren't a good guy or vouched for by my family, but it was like, I don't want to do this. Like, for some reason, I just don't want to do this. And I finally had to really fight and just say, okay, like I'm gonna do it.
What is that? I really wanted to like double click on this very thing. You've alluded to it now of just finishing something or following through. You know, and even hearing you describe that, I too every day live with an anxiety of just what is coming ahead and how's that going to feel to me, and will I follow through and show up to do the thing? Yeah,
that's the $1 million question for me right now. I've really started the last few weeks or months researching that, and I've kind of narrowed it down a little bit to where I'm in a stadium of ideas of what it is. I think it stems a lot from self-sabotage, from insecurities that I have of ideas that I think people want me to be, or things or like a perception of things, a way people want me to look, or what I think they want me to be. And then a perfectionist, not in the sense where it has to be right, but where the result has to be right. And if it's not, then I failed. And I think self-sabotage is a very real thing for me, where it's like, man, not only did you not learn these things, it almost became a crutch for me in the middle of my life, where I was like, oh yeah, well, it's not really my fault. I don't really know that stuff yet. You know, I didn't really learn that. So I'm kind of okay, like, to be like this, because it's not, you know, we all kind of go through those stages, especially in our culture today. It's kind of what it is. But I learned very quickly, like, well, no, it's not okay. And you got to learn it, like, in some way, shape, or form. You got to do this. So I think self-sabotage has really kind of resonated with me the last few months, where I'm like, I already feel like I'm going to fail before I even start. Like, I'll have an idea, and I'm just like, even the things I'm passionate about, like with the chunky golfer stuff, like, oh, I want to do a tournament every year. And it's like, well, no, I really do. And, you know, one person, you know, it's like the devil and angel on your shoulder. That's what it feels like I walk with every day, where it's like, no, yes, no.
Back when you slept with the duffel bag on your bed, did you ever actually forget it?
No. The one time I forgot my jersey, it wasn't my fault. We were playing in an all-star game and in Colorado Springs, and the year before we played it was the North-South all-star game, and that was the only time I ever forgot my jersey, because they told us the year before we weren't going to do jerseys, and they were giving us T-shirts to wear, and then the next year they didn't tell us we were wearing jerseys, and so me and my teammate on the same team, the same school as me, we showed up and we were the only ones without jerseys on, and so that was the only time it ever happened, and I still have nightmares about that, by the way.
Really?
But, yeah. Yeah, I still.
It runs deep, man.
Oh man,
dude, I'm sorry.
It's I still have nightmares about forgetting my jersey, like, or my shoes.
I still have a nightmare. It's funny. I mean, you just saying that now brought back an anxiety of mine that on Fridays after school, before the Friday night lights, the football game, if we were late coming back to dress to go out to, like, you had let the whole world down, according to our head coach. Right. I mean, it was like, if you're late coming back and dressing to go, like, I'm 48.
Yeah.
I have nightmares over a head coach in high school's demand to be back and dressed at a certain time.
Yep.
We're getting to something, right, in terms of just the overall content of the power of expectation on self and youth sports, and what happens when you are, quote, knighted at a young age.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I'm curious for you to just talk about that a little bit. You know, it's one thing to be talented. It's another one to what happens when you are knighted too young. And did it have a factor in all of this?
Yeah, it definitely does. It was an experience that I love. I always say I would never sell it for all the money in the world, but I wouldn't buy it back for a nickel, because it was so amazing to go through, and at the same time it was so awful to go through, where it felt like you had rather than worrying about your responsibilities, you had to worry about everybody else around you's responsibilities on your team and the community. Like, I mean, as a high schooler, going to places and signing autographs for junior basketball players, to me just didn't make sense, but whatever. Like, I'll sign your jersey. Like that was, and I'd never seen that. So it was like, I felt, being in the top 100 or the number 2 basketball player in Colorado or number 1 after my buddy was gone and all those things. Like, yeah, it felt cool, but it was hard. It was hard to carry that. And all those things, right? I wasn't necessarily the number 2 or number 1, but it was top tier in my community. And to be able to say, like, yeah, you're responsible for the outcome of this. As a 7th and 8th grader, what the next 4 years is going to look like for our community and for my teammates, it was tough. But at the same time, I also embraced a lot of that because I felt pride in the fact that, oh, hey, I'm good at this. And so that's one of the positives where I learned how to be competitive. I learned how to be confident in that. I say that very specifically because basketball I was always confident in. I never felt like I walked into a gym and I wasn't the best player. And it's so frustrating because I wish I could translate that into the rest of my life, because if I did, I know I could conquer, but I can't. And for some reason, I just can't figure out how to do it. And so those are one of the bonuses. But I always try and tell the kids, like, hey, you have to be the best version of what you are, and whatever you are is okay. And we can help you improve where we can help you improve, but it's okay to fail. This is where you fail. This is how you fail, and then we fix it. And that's the stuff I never had, where it was like I failed. Looking around the room, like, okay, I failed, and it was just like, yeah, you failed, way to go, and it felt very lonely.
When did basketball no longer solve everything? And maybe it didn't solve anything, but it felt like it did.
I know what you meant. I know what you mean. I think my sophomore year, it kind of got to the point where I was just doing it. I was doing it to do it. After the Columbine stuff, that really kind of just put it in perspective. Like, hey, there's more to this world than high school basketball. I mean, as a 15-year-old kid, you don't feel like there's anything outside your city or your little bubble, but that kind of stuff threw our whole community into that, where it was like, wow, there's a lot more to this. Like, the world changed, for good and for bad, mostly bad for us in those moments. But it was, I would say I always had the passion about it. I always liked playing it, but it wasn't like it was before, where it was like, it wasn't a refuge anymore until the whistle blew. Once the game started, it was a refuge again, because I had to forget about what was going on because I was doing something else.
Yeah.
But it almost turned into busy work for me now, where I just try and be busy to distract me from what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What were the implications of your friend who took his life at such a young age, for you?
Yeah, that was...
What meaning do you kind of put on that in your overall story?
Honestly, that was probably the single hardest thing I've ever had to even hear about someone going through, with him specifically, because I've learned, or I've kind of helped myself grow a little bit, where it's like, it wasn't about me, but in that moment, watching him struggle with the Columbine stuff and then end up taking his life, that was the hardest year and to 2.5 years that I'll ever experience. And I would never wish that on anybody. Being able to live that, was, gosh, it was unbearable. I mean, I minute to minute where I just didn't want to be there. And it was like, I'm ready to be done. I don't want to feel like this. I don't like this dark. I like feeling like I'm in this little hallway staring at this black door, knowing at any moment I could just open it and walk through it and be done. And then realizing how easy that was to do, meaning, seeing your best friend who you talk to all the time, all of a sudden he wasn't there, and you didn't know. You had no idea that it was that bad. I mean, we did hindsight, but it was devastating. It defined who I was for about 20 years, I would say, where I thought about him every day. I thought about that every day, where it was like, man, this really kind of molded me into part of the the circle of who I am, that was a big chunk of it for a long time, dealing with that, where it was, I'd feel that darkness and I'd feel that sadness and I'd feel that depression a lot, where it was daily. I mean, and it's gotten better and things have helped and my understanding in time, that's really helped, but it's never, I mean, even to this day, it's, it's something I think about it every week at least.
Yeah. What was it about that experience? How did you internalize it at that age? I mean, there are the reason I bring it up is because there's wisdom that you have in your body, in your literal human, to share in your experience that I think a lot of parents and adults, frankly, today, there are a lot of children who go to high school today with peers who have taken their life.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the parents and adults are trying to figure out how do they coach up, teach through, those youth. And yet it's hard to know, like, what are they carrying?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, if you don't mind.
No, I see, that's something I'm passionate about, like I said, with the coaching stuff, because if I could do my dream job, it would be able to talk to kids. I'd love to. I don't want to be like a motivational speaker type of guy, but be able to have relationships where I'm talking to teenagers and saying, hey, listen, like, I get it. I tell my 14-year-old, who I have a really good relationship with every day, like, hey, I understand. I know you don't think I do. And I know things have kind of modified as the time's gone on. Like, that's what culture and society does. But I understand and remember vividly the emotions you're feeling. And so when I talk to parents and stuff, because I've had multiple people ask me over the years, like, hey, like, what did you say to him? Because he's told me now in the last 10 years that you saved his life multiple times when he was struggling with depression. And none of us, including me, knew that, this young man was struggling with it. And I don't have the magic sauce, but my main thing is to tell people, like, you need to listen. Like, you need to listen, not like when they're talking. You need to listen in how they're acting and what they're doing, what they're not saying. Listen to those cues and be aware of what's going on in the world. Be involved, because a lot of my struggles came from the lack of my parents understanding there was even a problem. My parents are amazing people, and they would have done anything for me had they known that I was going through this stuff. And it didn't really come to light, especially with the suicide and the harm, self-harm stuff, until after the Columbine stuff really happened, where it was like, man, this is a real problem. This isn't, something that is on the news. This is here. This is right down the street. So I always tell people, like, hey, it's okay to be not okay. Like, I tell the boys, it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have those feelings. It's not okay to sit on them. It's not okay to continue to carry those things. Having those problems, having those issues, I think is healthy. And on some levels, not healthy is not the word. I think it's acceptable because it's natural that you're going to have those things sometimes, but it's not healthy to say, okay, well, this is who I am, and then helping them get rid of it. But it's really the kids that don't tell you that are really the ones struggling. They're the ones that you don't ever think. That's what you hear all the time. I would have never known. That tells me, like, there's more to this, like, because that's what I did. You never knew. You would have never known. And my coaches didn't know, my teammates, my classmates, nobody knew that Jason had tried to take in his own life, after, as a junior. No one had any idea that I was going through that stuff, because they saw me in the newspaper, or they saw me on the news, or they saw me on the basketball court. So it's being able to recognize and being involved, where you're telling these kids, like, hey, listen, I know you don't think, but I do understand, and I will hear you. I won't fix it. I won't try and change you, but I will hear you. And I think that's what kids need.
One of the things you said to me in the last month was probably the most descriptive I've ever heard an adult describe not being listened to. And you've literally, in the last 2 minutes, you said the word hear 20 times. How do we get better at this? I mean, when you say listening or hear, how do you, like, perceive a good listener and a good hearer of other humans? Like, what does that look like?
It's not fixing. You're not trying to change somebody. I don't need you. If I'm telling you something, like when we talked at lunch, I opened up for some reason. I trusted you, and when those things happen, when someone is trusted by someone, it's important that they hear what they're saying rather than just listening to it and then having an opinion about it, or listening to them and then trying to fix it. Like when I'm struggling with something and I tell somebody something, I want you to hear it. You don't even necessarily have to have an opinion. I just want to be able to say what I'm saying and have someone actually know, okay, Jason's going through that. Like, you don't need to fix it. I don't even necessarily want you to say anything back to me if you don't have anything to say back to me, but I just needed to say it and I wanted you to hear it. And I for the life of me, there's one thing that bugs me. It's like when I try and talk to somebody and they try and fix me. It's like, I'm not here to be fixed. Like, I know I have issues. I'm telling you I have issues. I don't need you to tell me that I have issues in addition to this, or how to fix the issues that I'm trying to tell you I'm struggling with, because like obviously everyone has an opinion, but you're not walking in my shoes. So I always tell the kids, my main thing is like, hey, you want as much feedback as you want. And if you tell me, hey, Coach or Jason or Chunky, like, I'm struggling with this, I'm here and I'll listen to you and I'll hear what you're saying, and then we'll go from there and give you an opportunity to decide for yourself, especially these younger kids, where it's like, hey, this is on your terms. Like, let you get it out as you're learning how to communicate, especially in this world where these kids don't know how to communicate. Because I have a lot of things that I've gone through where I can communicate to them, and they're blown away that, when I talk about phones and how phones and things used to work for us. So these kids don't necessarily understand how to communicate. So I always tell people, like, make sure you listen to them, let them talk, give them time to say it. Like, it may not even be in one conversation, but let them know there's a space where in that moment they're trusting you, you're hearing them rather than just letting them talk to you.
Is that is that a coping mechanism for you?
Yeah.
You want Tom to listen to you at lunch, and that's how you cope?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah. It's kind of it's like a dump, right? Like, because I don't feel, and this is just me, I don't necessarily feel like I can trust people, and so I find myself, when I find someone once a year, and you should be honored by this because this is a big deal, that I trust you, but truly where I don't trust. And so when I feel the trust, like, okay, this guy's genuine, Tom is genuine, I can feel his energy is genuine and he actually cares about what I'm saying. Not even if he understands it, but he cares, like, hey, I care that, Jason, you're going through this. Like, if I feel that trust, I automatically dump, because honestly, it helps get it off of me. Mm-hmm. And then I can leave it there at the best I can, and I can move from it and then get to the next one where it's like, okay, I left that lunch and I felt so light and so like, okay, there's an answer somewhere. Like, there's something that can be done somewhere. I don't know where it is. We're still looking for it, but Tom helped me see, yes, there's still stuff. There's still a way. And that was, that's my goal every time I interact with kids and teenagers and college age kids now, where I can say, hey, let's get to that point where when you need to come talk to me, you can leave it with me. And I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to just listen. I'm going to hear you. And then when you're ready and you want my interactions, then I'll be there. Yeah. And we can get through it together. And I'll never try and fix you. I'll just try and show you through my experiences and through what I'm seeing from you that there is an answer out there. And I don't necessarily know it, but I'll help you be there to find it. Yeah. Because that's the stuff that for me personally, it's like, I just hate it when people try and fix me. Like, you don't know what I'm feeling. You know what I've been through because I told you. You don't know how I feel because of what I've been through. Yeah. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
It does. It's interesting though, because even hearing, and I want you to talk about this, about dudes, just guys, right?
Yeah.
You're an athlete, you're doing this the highest level. Like, you're celebrated as a young man, the tougher you are.
Yeah.
Win, compete, get over it.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, right? The terms that we all could share about our own childhoods, to this day, one of the most harsh looks and things that have ever been said to me was by a coach in the middle of a football game right after Brandon Doman threw an 80-yard bomb over my head, right? Yeah. And I blew coverage on it. Like, to this day, I still literally have, like, whatever, PTSD, whatever,
Yeah.
of the moment, right? Of just what happened and what was said to me. And yet most guys will bury.
Yeah.
So speak about that.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, in the world today, to be a dude, and to offload over lunch with another dude,
Yeah.
this heavy stuff, like,
See,
why is it so freaking hard?
it's almost unbearable to think about what I would have thought about doing that 10 years ago, even. Like, to think I would go to lunch with a guy I didn't know and tell him what I was feeling and get emotional at a Chipotle restaurant with a guy I'd never met. I mean, I was in tears at a couple parts during our lunch where I was on the brink of breaking down, and I'm like, I don't even know this guy. And to think about that 10 years ago stresses me out in itself. But really, it just shows you where we are as a society, or where we have been for so long, where it's not okay for young men to be not okay. Like, you have to play this role. You have to be like this. You have to show this toughness or this grit and all these things, which I'm fine with in certain aspects. Like, it's okay to stay the masculinity side of sports. I love it. Like, be tough. Yeah. Like, get up, shake it off, rub dirt on it, all that stuff. But there are times where these coaches from our past, they didn't know, they didn't understand it. They weren't trained. They didn't have they just knew what they had gone through and how they were talked to. And they didn't understand what it was doing to the kids and down the line. Right. But it's really, my main thing to tell in my sporting environment now, it's like, it's okay. I want you to fail. Like, failing is okay. And you don't suck. Like, I'll tell my kids all the time, I was like, man, that sucked. Like, you sucked right there. And it's like a very specific, like, you sucked, didn't you? And it's like, oh yeah, that was bad. I'm like, cool. Now what do we do? Like, now how do we fix it? What should you have done? If you ran that back, what are you doing to change it? Okay, cool. Now we're over it and we move past it and we show these kids like, hey, yeah, like, we always hear like we learn so much from losing. Like, I hate that term. We do learn a lot from losing, but I feel like for the longest time we've learned the wrong things. Like, it's not, we've learned a lot because we don't fix the things on the field. We fix the things because we teach these kids every day to do something on the field a certain way, and if they did it, we feel like they should have won. But what was going on behind the scenes? What was their emotional state? What was happening in those moments? Why were they stressed? How do we get them in those environments where they feel those anxieties and learn how to perform in those environments and all of that stuff? That's what we learn, in my opinion. Not you didn't do the X's and O's, because you can't factor in the other side where there's other kids that are doing their thing that are trying to stop you from doing that. And it's not fair to say, one way or the other that you learned something because you lost because of what those kids did, because you don't have a clue, right? So my main thing with today is to just talk, just be okay with it. Like, it's okay to fail. Failing is good. It's how we learn from the failures in those specific moments, and then not carrying the failures, because a good shooter will always say, or a good golfer will always say, the most important shot is the next one. Like, it doesn't matter what you just did. It means nothing now. Yeah. But what did we learn? Okay. I tell my 14-year-old every time we go out and shoot in the backyard, why'd you miss it? Tell me why you missed it. Oh, because it didn't go in? No, that's not an answer. Why did you miss it? How did you miss it? I was back left of the rim. Okay. What does that mean? How does that reflect on what you're doing in your stance or what you're doing in your shot? Well, that means one of two things. I'm either on my left leaning forward, or I'm following through left, or whatever it is. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then what that does is help him narrow his mind down so his room for error is more, it's more slender. And he says, oh, okay, it doesn't feel like I have to do all this. I just have to worry about this.
Yeah.
And so telling these kids today, like, hey, those days are done. The locker room hazing and all that stuff. I love that in a different way now, where we can tease and have fun and build rapport with each other. But I'm a coach. I'm not ever going to try and tell my kids they're not good at something, or they sucked at it, or they're I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you blew your coverage. Like, how do you miss that shot? Like, I mean, the first shot I had as a freshman in varsity game, I missed a layup, and I thought my world was over. And my coach said, like, what was that? And my dad said, why didn't you just dunk it? And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, oh, this. And then my sweet mom said, it's okay, just next one up. And I remember thinking, okay, that's the answer I like. Like, okay, that one feels better. Like, I'll just go with that. So that's what I try and do on a simplistic level. Like try and get the kids to think, or people to think like, hey, those days are gone. Like we're all carrying something. Like what you say matters to these kids or to other people. Like when you take something of a shot at a kid as a coach, it matters, and they hear it and they carry it for years and years to come, just like we are.
Yeah, it does. And it's silly, and yet it's not.
Yeah.
Like it's so real. It's interesting that you just described what you did about just communicate, talk with the kids. I look back on those years and I think to myself, whether it was a coach, a teacher, a parent, what I wish the most would have happened in those informative years was less silence.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
There usually was a rant of like, you freaking suck, you did this. It ended with exclamation points and then silence.
Yeah.
And it was death by silence for years for me.
Yeah.
Where I wish, to your point, someone, a coach, a parent, would have just asked more questions. Hey, can we go back to the moment and really address, like, we were not in zone.
Yeah. Yeah, like why?
What
were you thinking? Because you'll hear that too. That term I try not to use as much, because what are you thinking? That almost was a negative when we were growing up. Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
Like, where are you at?
Yeah.
When really, I want to know, like, what are you thinking here? Like, tell me, when we're going through film, what was your thought process here? Can you tell me? Because I want to know where the disconnect is from what we're doing in the scheme of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And then I can help you fix it. But if I don't have any idea what your mind is doing or where your thoughts are at, then who am I to tell you what to fix? Like, who am I to tell you how to be better? Because I mean, I could be telling you one thing and you're hearing it in a different way. And
I've literally replayed it a million times and thought to myself, what was I thinking? And the answer is, I wasn't.
yeah, you were just doing what
Coach,
you do.
you gave me 5 reps in weeks and weeks of practice, and then I was in, and I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, and
I mean, do you know what I mean?
yeah, and,
I mean, it's
and
like,
you got beat.
yeah, so I blew coverage 100%, but also I didn't know the plays because I was never in the practice to know, like,
Yeah.
right.
100%.
And so, I mean, there's such a blame part of all of that. And yet we still we process it for 20, 30 years, post. And so, I mean, it's really less about coaching versus not coaching and more just we're human and how would we want to be treated,
Yeah,
in those human moments.
Communication, especially for these young kids, is important too. Like being able to, like you said, those silent moments, those are backbreakers for these kids because they want to communicate, and they'll show you as time goes on, as they start to trust and you start to build the relationships. They want to learn how to communicate. They want to tell you what they're going through. They want to tell you what they're feeling. They may not tell you in the way that you understand necessarily, but they're going to tell you. And to be able to say, like, hey, listen, sometimes those silences are okay. Like, if you want to come and just be around me and we can just not talk, fine. But just know, like, in those moments where you do want to communicate or you do have things you're carrying, like, communication's important. And I called one of my boys. He's not a boy anymore. He's married and he's 28 now, but he played pro ball in Japan. And I remember calling him when he was in high school and he didn't answer his phone. And I was like, that's weird. He was just here. He was just at the school. And then I got a text message from him 10 seconds later. It said, hey, coach, what's up? And I was like, you know what? Answer your damn phone. That's what's up. Like, I don't want to text you. So I was like, call me back. And he's like, oh, I'll call you when I get home. I was like, no, you call me right now. If you can text me, you can call me. And I just saw the kid 10 minutes ago. So he called, hey, coach. And I'm just like, are we strangers now? I was just with you. Like, we need to learn how to communicate. And then we made the rule, no texting coaches. You call us or you talk to us at practice. And they attribute that now, that whole class to, like, hey, that's why I'm successful in business, because I learned how to communicate better than my peers. And so, I mean, that worked out in a funny way, but the kids want to communicate and they have their ways of doing it. And it's breaking through those things where you can say, like, tell me more, like, give me something, like, let me earn your trust and then let me keep it. and these kids, they want to tell you, they want to talk to you, they just don't know how to do it. And
I think that's so brilliant of earning the trust and the psychological safety to say, I don't know.
yeah,
Like, I'm not getting it, just there's so much to that. The ability to create a vulnerable environment where it's safe to be able to say, I don't get it. In a way, it makes sense to me why with Chunky Golfer and the things that you're doing online now, that your go-to, your secret sauce of why people love the content is you're just real.
yeah.
You're just vulnerable. You're willing to put it out there, the swing or whatever, which I want you to talk about, but people respond to it because it's like you've been vulnerable. You've lent some psychological safety that you don't have to put perfect content out there.
In fact, it's far from it, right? I always tell people the best content is the worst content. Like the stuff when I struggle the most, especially on the golf course, that's the stuff that blows up. When there's things I concentrate and I really focus on, like, I went and played golf with my boy Cy, who played in the NFL, and Cy's a stud and he's a good golfer. And I'm going to make this video. It'll get 10,000 views, which sounds like a lot, right? And then I'll make one where I'm like, I shanked one right, hit a house. That'll get 250,000 views. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it varies, but that, being who you are all the time, that's for me, especially now as I've gotten older and I've tried to be okay with me. I'm like, okay, that's how I can do it, by just being real. And I'm going to say things you don't like, and I'm going to say things that you don't agree with, and I'm going to say things that offend you probably. But I'm also going to tell you exactly, at any given point what Jason's thinking, and I'll tell you. And I'm okay with that now. Like, that's been helpful for me. But it's like, I always laugh about it because my best videos are the ones where I'm like, gosh, it's embarrassing. But oh well, like, it is what it is.
Your purest shot and not birding that hole, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that got a ton of views because of the fact I missed the birdie putt.
Exactly.
Like, people didn't talk about how pure my wedge or my 7-iron was, like my approach shot, but they were like, man, you like people who don't even listen to the videos that'll comment and be like, why you missed that read? And I'm like, did you listen to the video? I read that right. Don't come at me. Like, this is this guy who I still talk to, by the way. I guess I should manage that a little bit better, because if you go and watch the video, he got hate for a long time, and he's a staple at the course. So I had to be like, all right, calm down, everyone. He was, he owned it, but there's too much negativity in the world to not just be who you are. Like,
so let's talk Chunky here for a minute then.
Yeah.
What was the original why behind Chunky?
That's funny. So I got into insurance, into sales like my dad, and thought, okay, I'll do insurance because, it seems to be more free, more my style is with what I deal with and stuff where I can, which I was way wrong, by the way. But I felt like, okay, there's freedom there, and I can do what I want, and I can do all these things. And then I was like, oh, everyone likes to golf, and I've always liked golf and hitting the ball far and all this crap. So I was like, I'm going to self-teach myself how to play golf better, because I'm athletic and I could play baseball, and I was really good at baseball and stuff too. So I was like, I'll do it. Started doing it a lot, and then work started having me do it a lot because I'm pretty good with people and social environments. And then I just started recording myself because I wanted to see, like, do I look right? Does this look normal? And it didn't, still doesn't, but it was like, okay, this is weird. And then for some reason, one day I just posted it on Facebook, and I was just like, yeah, out grinding on the golf course, like LOL kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh, that's cool. Like, you should check out, TikTok and Instagram. There's a lot of golf content. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I started looking on social media stuff, and I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, oh, there's a lot of my buddies who do this. Like, I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll do one video. So I did and I still have it up, where it was just like an talk over it kind of a thing, a narration of like, hey, what's up? It's Jason. I'm just out on the range, just so corny and just quality's terrible. But it's like, yeah, I'm just, really working on trying to get my angles, whatever that means. And because I still don't know what I was talking about. But it was like, everyone's like, oh, that's funny. Like, I wasn't trying to be funny, but cool. Like that's, and they're like, yeah, you should keep posting that. And then it just continued to build where I would record when I was playing with clients, and no one, until about a year ago, no one knew that I was Chunky Golfer with work stuff, year and a half ago. And then it started to really kind of explode. And then now people know when the camera's out, oh, he's doing something because of COVID and everything. But yeah, that's kind of how it cultivated, I think. It was pretty organic.
And did does it lean based off of everything you've shared with us over the last bit? How does that impact who Chunky is?
Oh man, it's tough because being in sales, you're always on. And then when you're on the golf course as Chunky, you have to be on almost even more, and both performance and personality.
Yeah.
And so it's exhausting. It really is exhausting. And I keep it simple. So everything I film is with my phone. I don't have a crew. I don't edit. I don't do all that crap because I don't care. I'm old.
Yeah.
Like they can do it. Like good for you guys. If someone wants to edit my videos, you're an idiot, but you can do it. Like go for it. But I just keep it simple, and I don't try and grow. I'm not like out like trying to. I'm not grinding like, oh, I want to get to this big, or I want to blah. Like I don't care. Like it doesn't bother me, but it definitely affects me. And it takes over my life sometimes, like where sometimes, I'm not a celebrity by any stretch, right? But sometimes when you're at the store and someone will walk up to you and just be like, are you Chunky Golfer? And it's like, for a split second, I'm like, oh yeah, I am. Hey, what's up? Like, and then you have to turn on real quick, like, cause you want to be Chunky Golfer. And so it definitely impacts you. It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Especially when you travel for it. Like I've gone to national tournaments, and I'll come home, I'll come out back to the hotel at those type of things and just be like, I don't want to talk to anybody for a week. Like, I don't want to see a golf club. I don't want to see a person. I don't want to hear anyone, because I do this catchphrase. Didn't even know I started, but it was, what's up, Chunky Squad? It's your boy. Like, that's how I start all the videos now. Didn't know I was doing it until everyone started saying, it's your boy. So everywhere I go, it's your boy. I'll be like, hey. I'm like, I hate it now, but
how do you? Okay, so
I love this.
Early on, Tom used the word that I think you guys established at your lunch, authentic.
yeah.
So how do you maintain just being authentic, but sometimes being exhausted with doing it and all that whole deal?
So I try and pick and choose where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there. Like, those things happen I always say, if you see Chunky in the wild, like, be nice to me, because I'm not always the nicest guy, even though I am. Like, I've never had an interaction where I've been like, oh, I was kind of a jerk to that guy. I'm not that important. No one gives a crap about what I'm doing, nor am I absorbed enough to think like, oh, Chunky's here. Like, hey, everyone. Like, that's not me either. But I always try and just remember, like, hey, like, whether or not I think this is cool, like, this kid who's coming up to talk to me, he thinks it's cool, and he wants to say hi to me and or take a picture with me. So I'll take a picture with him, like, whatever, that's fine. And I'm always going to be nice. And I always equate it back to, like, I want to be the best version of me as much as I can, and I'm going to fail at it. I fail a lot, so I may as well just try and be that best version as much as I can. And that, to me, seems to be getting by.
Yeah.
Because I'm bound to make mistakes, and thankfully it hasn't happened yet. Everyone always asks me, like, well, you should do more. Like, I thought about changing my license plate to Chunky and all this crap, and then I was like, I don't want to do that because I have road rage, and then everyone's going to be like, that's that Chunky Golfer guy. Or I don't want to put my Instagram on my car because then like, that's how I think.
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
like, so I just try and situationally be aware, and then when I do get tired, try and, like, I'll cancel tee times if I'm not feeling it, because I don't want to go and.
Can you golf as Jason anymore?
Only with my family.
Yeah.
My dad. So my dad gets a kick out of the Chunky stuff because he loves it, and he sees my refuge in it, and so he knows I'm happy when I'm doing it. And so he'll spend a lot of time with me doing it. And for a long time, he was my camera guy. And so I started calling him Papa Chunky, and he loves that. Like, he'll eat that up. So it's always like, oh, I'm Papa Chunky. This is Chunky Golfer. And I'm like, I'm Jason. Like, like, that kind of stuff. But that stuff, I say that
I
as
feel like he needs his own handle.
he does.
Chunk rock.
He has no,
like
it's
instead of punk rock, like chunk rock. Does he have it?
It's Papa Chunky. Like,
What?
That's his thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get it going.
My mom made him delete it because it was, he's, stake presidency kind of thing. Like, you really need a golf influencer.
So he's 6'8".
Yeah.
How tall is he?
6'8".
And your mom is?
Well, she'll tell you 5'1", but she's probably 5 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
the two of them together, dude, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I've never laughed.
Yeah,
it's a couple dinners I had with them, I died. Just they're such cool people.
They're an interesting duo to watch because it's like this little Chihuahua with this Great Dane, and it's like she runs the world. She tells him where to be. She tells him how to be, and in the nicest, like most, Pop's way possible. Like he just, I'm like, you know what? Are you just a big dumb dog who listens to her? And he's like, I learned a long time ago that if she wants me to do something, I'm going to do it. And I said, yes, sir. So, but yeah, so it's he loves it and it's fun. But my brothers call me Jason still, obviously, and then even my closest friends now, most of them I've met since moving to Utah through Chunky Golfer. So most people call me Chunky.
Yeah.
Which doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say it ever really bothered me, but there are times where I'm like, I'm going to put the camera away today. I just want to golf.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to worry about it. And then
what's it like for your wife and kids?
The wife hated it for a long time. I think she would tell you she thought it was really stupid. Like, cause she'd be like, this, like, her way of thinking was like, I'm really glad you like this and this is fun. But she's like, at the end of the day, you're gone because you're golfing. And she's like, I hate golf now because you're golfing all the time. Right. And then it kind of transformed into, okay, this is Jason's passion and he's actually doing something with it, charity work. And there's things that are coming from this. And then, he's starting to make a little money. Okay, cool. And then she started to kind of see it more as an opportunity. But the kids love it. They think it's cool. Like the fact their dad's a social media guy. My oldest thinks it's really cool, and he has his little YouTube channel now too, and where he's building his brand and doing what he likes to do, and it's just like, so they love it. I mean, my youngest boy, he doesn't really care yet. He's only 8, but he's like, whatever. Like, he'll always ask me like, why's everyone call you Chunky? Like, or he'll say, the newest thing is, Dad, did you hear that? And I'll be like, what? And I'll be like, someone just yelled for you. And I'll turn around and I'll be like, that guy was saying Chunky Golfer. Or that guy was saying that was you. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's no big deal, fellas. Like, let's just keep going. Like, but they think it's cool. Like, or when we'll go places and people ask me for autographs, they just are like, my oldest still is, he's old enough to understand now, but he'll still be like, I don't get this. This is so stupid. Like, you're just an old golfer. Like, why does that guy want you to sign his hat? Like, I don't know, bud.
There's something about it though and I told you this at lunch that it's an interesting life to live online a little bit and to have people kind of know personality and know you a certain way, but purely from a father, perspective, especially because your content is real. Of all of the people to be an influencer, to have content that is authentic and real, that's so different to grow up with a dad who's an influencer of being real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's just something.
Yeah, they'll always say he's the same in person as like what you see on YouTube and Instagram. That's him all the time. That's my goal. That's what I want. Like, I don't want you to ever think I'm two different people, because that drives me nuts. Because I know influencers, especially in the golf space, that are not. On both sides, the guys that try and act a certain way for a character and then they're not in person. And it's like, you're wasting so many opportunities to make an impact in this younger generation of kids by acting like that, as opposed to just being who you are, which is an awesome dude. But on camera, I mean, there's a couple guys that I don't want to say their names, but I'm like, you guys suck. Like, you're not good people to watch. And then I met him and I'm like, why don't you act like this? Like, you're a good dude and you're funny and like you're a genuine guy. Like, and it's like, oh, well, I had 1 or 2 videos where I had a bad day and then it just kind of leaned into it. I'm like, yeah, but that sucks, dude. Like, that's only going to get you so far. Like you're only going to have so much where people are going to start to see like, hey, who you really are, and they're going to want to be around you. But then it started to affect like, well, why are you hanging out with him? That guy's a jerk. Like I don't like that guy. He's not real. And it's like, well, he actually is. And then it's exhausting trying to manage those kind of things. And then the other way where it's like, don't be overly nice. Like no one's that nice. Like this, like we need to be kind and be better to each other. I'm like, no, just be a good person. Like, and I'll even say in some videos where I'm like, yeah, having a bad day, you'll have to ignore me, but like, let's talk about it. Like, we got to talk about this. This is important. Yeah. And like, whatever, like, being who you are. And I'll post videos where I'm not all decked out in my gear and stuff. And people are like, I've never seen you without a hat on and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. Like, I'm just posting. I don't, there's no routine to this. This is just like, there's an app called Be Real now. And I always tell people I've had that app for 10 years because that's what I try and do every day. Just this is what it is right now at this moment. Nothing's staged. Everything's organic. I very rarely go into a video where I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set it up like this. And you're going to say that. It's never that. Like that's just not me. I don't have patience for that. The ADD in me kicks in where it's like, screw that. Let's just go and figure it out.
Yeah.
Ship it.
Yeah. Like
just ship it.
Who cares? Like nobody cares. And that's really the base for me is nobody cares what I think. Like, and people watch it because it can be a train wreck at any given moment. Like they're waiting for the car wreck,
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes it's going to happen and sometimes it's not, but that's okay. Like,
yeah.
So
where does it go? Where do you take this?
I think a lot of it, my goal is to take it into charity stuff and to working with kids, especially in the social media space. I would love to start doing social media stuff where I can help kids manage social media because of how poisonous it is. And if kids don't understand the training and what it takes, not even to run a channel, but to navigate social media emotionally, they'll have such a better understanding how it impacts them or what should impact them. I would love to take it that way where I could say like, hey, I've lived this and I've gone through the pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID days and the woke days and where you couldn't say anything and now people have free reign again and all this stuff. I've lived this. And I've been around kids while I've done it, teenagers. So I understand what you're going through and be able to help them navigate that world. I would love that. I would love to be able to talk to high schoolers and I mean, if I could have a perfect world, I'd quit my job and be able to go speak to teenagers and say, hey, listen, this is what the world is. I know when you're looking at this little screen, it feels like it's something else, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you're seeing on there, what's real, what's not, like why what that person's saying to you doesn't matter and what that person's really probably having to deal with at the same time that they're posting this stuff and the psychology from that point. 'Cause these kids, man, they live on their phones quite literally, and it's like the whole look up and look around thing is overwhelming to them. And to be able to tell them like, hey, we need to learn how to navigate this world with social media because it's not going away,
right?
Especially with AI and all that stuff that's coming or that's here. Knowing what's real and what's not.
Do you believe that they know that they have a problem with it?
No, I don't anymore. I think the first generation of these kids, yes, they knew there was a difference. There was a problem with the social media, especially. I think they knew like, hey, this is starting to take up a lot of my time. But these next few generations of kids, these next incoming classes, if you will, that's all they've known. Like they're getting phones at younger and younger ages. They're being exposed to YouTube at younger and younger ages. Like the days of cable TV are gone. Kids watch shows on YouTube now, and those shows turn off eventually, and then they start watching videos. And like my kids are the same way. They don't watch like Bluey and all this stuff anymore. They watch like these guys and gals on YouTube. Like, and I'm like, this is the stupidest stuff I've ever watched, but that's what they're into. Yeah. And so I don't think they know any different. I think the older kids, the kind of the first generation, yeah, they knew it was too much. But I think now, a lot of them genuinely don't understand, like, this is not what the world really is. And then when you have to step outside of it, they're in trouble. Basically relating back to what I did from what I was going through with not understanding how to navigate the world realistically. And I think social media is doing it to a way bigger population of these kids than I had to go through. And it's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that. Someone who spends a lot of time and knows that world, you know. What are the risks? I mean, I would love to see you on stage talking to kids. I mean, I think that would be incredible.
I'd love it.
What would your opening sentences be?
First and foremost, I would honestly, my main goal would be to be like, hey, everything you think I am, what I look like, I'm probably that in some way, right? I relating to the kids to help them understand, like, hey, if I can do this, anyone in this room can be this, whatever this is, right? If I have a big following and or an average following and I'm being successful in social media, any one of you can too. But why do you want to do it? Like, what makes you want to do this? Because I didn't want to do it. It wasn't like I thought, oh, I want to be a social media influencer. In fact, I remember waking up and being like, why is this person wanting to connect with me? Why? Like, wait, am I now at that level where I actually have some influence? Oh, crap, I do. Like, crap, now what do I do? Like, you know, I bit off more than I could handle. And then I had to fight through that stuff. So to be able to say to the kids, like, or to anybody, not even kids, but adults now too, because these kids are transitioning into that adulthood where it's like, why do you want that? What do you get from it? How does it affect your day-to-day life? I mean, do you really think that is reality? And if you do, what comes from that's beneficial to what your health is and what your emotional status is, and being able to have, like, you know, real conversations and being because kids understand, and I don't think it's just these days. I was going to say that, but I think kids understand if you say it to them straight, it hits harder. They understand it. If you try and dance around it, like, hey, you shouldn't do this because of this, this, and this. It's like, hey, don't do that. This right here, don't do it. It hits more than like, we shouldn't, you know, let's dance around the stuff. Say it to them. Like, if you're struggling with emotional, you know, struggles, you shouldn't be doing this stuff. You shouldn't be on social media worrying about what people are saying and what does that actually represent to you as a person, as an individual. Like, why do you seek that attention? Why do you seek that, you know, affirmation from a stranger? Because I had to go through that, where the first year was hard for me to do social media because people were mean, and I took it to heart because I like to think I'm a caring person, and I value what people's opinions are, and so to hear these people who I'll never know and I'll never meet saying awful things to each other and then to me and then to my family, and I was just like, holy cow, like, this is real world stuff. Like, I've been told to kill myself. What is it? Tuesday? Twice yesterday, someone told me to kill myself in a DM. And it's like every day I would get that. Every day I get that. Once or twice a week for sure I get that message in my DMs. And it's for whatever reasons, but these kids see the same stuff, you know, and the problem is a lot of these kids who aren't social media influencers, they see it from people they know. Like, these kids, you know, in their schools have all this confidence standing in front of a keyboard or on their phone to say these horrible things. And like, how does that affect these kids? Like, how do you learn how to deal with those things? And so I would love to have a chance to just explain, like, hey, this is on your phone, but this is real world stuff. Like, the way you interact with people and the way they interact with you matters. And it's basically learning how to communicate in the real world, or in the new world that we have. And I don't think the kids are ready for it, or I'm worried they're not.
What a cool idea to think through coaching to know how to not get emotionally hijacked in the very media that they're interacting in. You know,
I mean, it's every day. I mean, think about how many times these kids look at their phone. My son averages like 6.5 hours on his screen a day. And that's with me putting limits on his social media stuff. Like, he has 15 minutes on YouTube. He has 15 minutes on Snapchat or whatever he's on. And he's still looking at his phone 6 hours a day. Like, that's crazy. He's got an hour and a half worth of stuff he could do with this time, but he's on there for 600% more. Like, why? And that's with my son, who has these limits, and most of these kids don't. And so they're immersed and trapped in this world of social media and online gaming and all these other things that they live day to day. I mean, they live my boys come home and they're talking to the neighbor kids they just rode the bus with, like, oh, I'll be online in 15 minutes. Like, be online. I'm like, okay, like that's kind of the world you live in, but we have to manage that. We have to learn how to, what you're hearing, because I'll hear things on their video games where I'm like, wait, what was that? And it's like, oh, some kid in the lobby said that. And I'm like, no, like, so we're not able to hide them from it anymore. It's very real and tangible for these kids.
I think the need for solving the mental health battle is just going to be compounded in so many ways in the coming years. It feels really overwhelming. Like how do you truly stop it or fix it or help it?
It's getting harder because these kids are behind the screen, right? They're in their rooms. I mean, I read a stat where I think it's like, and I may be wrong, but it's like 75% of teenagers who end up ending their own life, the last thing they did was on social media. The last thing they looked at was social media in some way. And so whether it was because of something that was said on there or not, that was the last thing they did. So you can't tell me there's not an impact of what mental health has, both positive and negatively, on social media, when that's basically what these kids are living through. And I mean, my boy and his little girlfriend, they don't talk to each other face to face. I've been in the room with them. They don't even talk. But they'll sit there and Snapchat back and forth or text, and it's like they're having their own conversations. Like, my wife dropped him off at the house the other night after she came over, and she's like, aren't you going to walk her up to the door and say goodbye? And he's like, oh, we already said goodbye on the phone. And I'm like, first of all, what the hell are you doing? Like, what? Second of all, like, that is so weird. Like, and I'm like, she's cool with that? And he's like, well, yeah, she isn't. I'm like, this is a totally different world, and it's every day it's changing, and these kids are. It's tough, and I wish I could help. I think that's my goal. Like, moving forward, it's really about that.
Well, part of the reason I wanted you to be on, one, because I think you're just an awesome human, but this is it. I would love Brainstoke exists today because we are trying to create proactive mental health awareness.
Yeah.
And this area in particular of social media and coaching, parents will spend thousands of dollars on their kids' soccer comp coach, all the trainers, all this stuff. And in reality, they need a social media coach in every household.
No, they really do.
I mean, these are the things that...
What to look for, how it's coming, where they're accessing it, all of that. They don't have any clue. Like, parents have no idea how these kids can get to this stuff. And it's not even necessarily a negative thing. And so, like, I'll talk to parents and they'll be like, well, how does my kid see that stuff? I'm like, do you have a computer? Yes. Well, but I manage it. Cool. Do you have a TV? Yeah. Well, that's probably part of it. Do they have phones? Yeah. Well, they probably know how to, no, because the internet's turned off. I'm like, you don't think they have apps that let them get into the other app that gets into the other app that lets them get on Google? Like, well, no. I'm like, well, yes. And then, so, I mean, that stuff is real. I mean, I charge $100 an hour to be a shooting coach. I would charge $500 an hour to be a social media coach, right? Because it's like, you need that way more than you need my shooting ability, which is, I wouldn't really, but yeah, it's 100%. 100%. It's a real thing.
Freestyle. You've been, teen years, tough teen years, adult, years. You're doing a lot. I mean, you're involved in a lot and cool stuff that is timely and relevant today. Freestyle for a minute. Just what advice or feedback would you give based on how you see the world today?
Yeah. I would say my main thing is just to be okay with you. And even if you're not, work at trying to be okay with you every day, and telling yourself every day, hey, like, you do matter, you do make a difference, and if you don't, you can if you want to. So do it. And then just dare to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. Just dare to be something better. Just even if it's a little bit, and even if you fail at it and you slide back, do it again the next day. Just take that chance. Take a shot on yourself. Like, just try, because that's what gets me through every day. It's just being like, you know what? I may suck at this in my own mind. I may think I'm going to fail. The hammer's going to drop, but for that one little moment, you're going to get a win, and it's going to be something that's positive in your life, a lot of times I'll do it where I try and make a difference in somebody else's life, where I'll call or text a buddy or a friend and just say, hey, I just want you to know I love you. I'm proud of you. You know, that's it. No, you don't need to even respond. Or I'll send a direct message to a small content creator and just say, hey, love your stuff. Think you're doing awesome. If you ever want to collaborate, just let me know. I'm always watching. I think it's cool. And, that kind of stuff where they react and like, holy cow, Chunky, direct message me and this is awesome. And like, that's the stuff where I'm like, okay, even in that moment, even though I'm struggling and I feel like this room is closing in on me, I made a difference outside that. And so that's how I try and live.
I love that. You said you started off that statement by, I would tell myself, and then you described positivity. What is it about positive self-talk, right? I mean, you've been a hooper at a high level. You now golf. You've spent enough time in the golfing world to know that no golfer is ever standing over a ball and is quiet.
Yeah.
They're saying something to themselves in their mind. What do you believe it is?
I think that's a tough one because I am the most negative person in my head where it's like I'll stand over a golf ball and just be like, please don't suck right now. Like, don't like, just keep it simple. Like, just keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Stand on a free throw line in big games too is the same thing where, as you get the reps and you start getting better, you're like, okay, you just trust it, trust your processes. But honestly, positivity to me is so important because I hate being negative. I hate negative feeling. Like, I find myself negative sometimes, but I hate the way it makes me feel. I already have struggles with anxiety and depression and things like that. So I don't want to feel that when it's not necessary or it's not like part of that. So it drives me crazy when someone's negative just because. And we have a rule in our house that we're not just negative to be negative because, if we're going to do that, then all it's going to do is bring in negative energy and negative thoughts, and then it's going to change the whole energy of the house. So negativity is not something I like. And positive affirmation for me is like, okay, it's funny enough, it's still very negative because I'm like, okay, you suck, but you can suck a little bit less if you do something right. And I don't feel like you're doing well across the board of life. Like you're struggling and you're battling every day, but just win this little piece and concentrate on that little piece, whatever it is. And that, to me, that positive thing gets me to the next positive thing. Cause that's how I live. Like, okay, what's the next thing I can do? And however that gets me through it, that's how I get through it.
You've had your daily dose.